a few more minutes until we have a few more people on board, and then we will begin. All right, so we have about 25 people on the call, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I hope everyone is having a good Friday. We thought maybe we'd start today's call kind of going over, we just finalized a quick guide to scoring QI applications against the rubrics, and we were waiting for, we received a really important piece of information from the state called the High Needs Score, which is a compilation of many demographic factors and whether or not the sites accept CCAP or Head Start or things like that, and kind of child care sites for the scheduler, and can also be used for other things like prioritizing those sites for different funding streams if you choose to use it that way. So, so we have that imported into Sugar at this point and included in the application scoring reports. So we thought we'd go through that very quickly, and then for the rest of the call, kind of open it up to questions on sort of applications and program MOUs. And then we will go right into a demo of the QI spending through EC Connect. And we have not released the module guide or the webinars for spending yet. We are doing some internal testing at this point and want to make sure that it's in good shape before we send it out. So if anyone is interested in helping test the QI spending module with all of the enhancements we've done, then please send support at an email and let us know. Or if you have spending records that you need to be inputting into Sugar already because you have signed program MOUs, then also email us and we can have you be one of the testers as well. So, all right, so with that, if there aren't any questions or additional items that we want to get covered on the call, which you're welcome to chat in or unmute yourself and stay on the phone, then we'll just jump into the quick guide to scoring QI applications with rubrics. All right, so as I mentioned, we just finalized this and we will be posting it on the support website right after this call. And if you've already completed the selection process for your QI programs, then you do not need to redo your selection process. We were just getting a lot of questions about how to do this with a rubric because some councils have never used a rubric before. So we thought it might be helpful to put together a formal document that can help walk you through the process. But again, if you already have your own selection process and it works for you, then you can continue using that. All right. So the first thing is just that, kind of an overview of what the primary modules and related modules are. That's how all of our guides start, just so that you have a sense of what section of the database we're talking about. So in this case, the primary module is the applications module, and the related modules is the reports module. So first, as we all are intimately familiar with at this point, is that the applications module captures a lot of information, both from the Colorado Shines application, but also from our specific EC Connect application, that allows you to kind of, that helps you make the decision on what child care sites should be prioritized for your different QI funding streams. So for Race to the Top, there is no rubric, so you need to accept and approve those childcare sites as they come in on a first come, first served basis, because you know anyone who submits an application for Race to the Top is already a level 2 and therefore qualifies for the grant. And you can do that on a first come, first served basis until you reach your budget, your approved budget, and then you should start waitlisting those sites. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to over-obligate your council by accepting those Race to the Top programs after you've exceeded or reached your approved budget. But it is possible that OEC might be able to do an adjustment in order to fund those sites. So it's really important to track that they are waitlisted, and that information is going to CDHS weekly.
And in addition, as a reminder that Michelle had noted that those wait lists will be looked at in case there's funding that can be allocated out. So it's important to utilize that wait list, just to echo what Sharon said.
Great, thanks. And we'll go through that a little bit later as well as it relates to the CCAP, school readiness, and ICQA programs. All right, so of course through the application process, they're also creating their preliminary requisitions. And then once you send the program MOU out and it's signed, then those requisitions are approved at that time. So you can look at this requisitions and transfers guide for more information on that. So the first step in this process is that the applications close. So in the case where a program it needs to be scored against a rubric, it's best to wait until all of the applications have been submitted, and the easiest way to do that is to wait until the deadline. So since the deadline was September 30th, many of you have already started the selection process, and as I said before, if you already have a process in place, you don't necessarily need to follow step-by-step this guide, but it's a good reference and allows you to kind of understand Sugar's role in helping you select those applicants. So once the application is closed, then you'll be able to run some reports that will actually include all of your application information for each of the sites. So in this case, we've kind of listed all 3 of the programs for this fiscal year. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the school readiness application report. And it's really important here, I think we hit this a lot, but these runtime filters are really going to allow you to customize your reports in a way that makes sense for you. So right now, the funding stream name is school readiness, and it's DECC. So keep in mind that this is the SRQIP application report, so you want to make sure you're only putting your school readiness funding stream in here. And the way you would do that is you just start typing SR. Because I'm an admin, I can see all funding streams, but you will only see the funding streams assigned to your team. And so then you can select your school readiness funding stream here. And once you select it once, then that report will remember it for you until you change it later. So you know, you can sign out of Sugar, sign back in a week later, and it will still remember the report settings that you have. So it's really nice because that means ECLA only has to create one report, and then you can customize it to meet your needs on your side. So in the status, this will already be set up for you, but you want to exclude any applications in process. We talked about this a little bit last week, but if an application is in process and the site does not submit the application before the deadline, then you know, technically speaking, they didn't complete the application, so they're not eligible to sort of be scored against the rubric. However, sometimes a site really does complete the whole application and for whatever reason doesn't actually hit the submit button. So if you are looking at an application that's in process and all of the required fields are completed, then you might just want to follow up with that site and make sure to see if they intended to submit, and then you can actually, through Sugar, directly just mark that as submitted as long as the site gives you permission to do that. As of this point, the applications are no longer available through the Colorado Shines portal, so you would not be able to log in to that application and submit it from the Colorado Shines portal. You would have to do that from inside of Sugar. All right, so So we've got some of the statuses in here. We're ignoring all the MOU statuses, but you can kind of see what that looks like. And then the other thing is that we included the requisitions, the quality improvement requisitions in this report so that you could see, if I accept, the top 30 sites, what's my liability in terms of what I'm promising to my child care sites participating in the grant, and make sure that it's going to be within your approved budget. So we thought that would be helpful to kind of include in here. We did not include coaching hours because it would actually cause the report to have more than one line, and we know that many councils are using their internal staff to perform the coaching hours, so it's a little bit more flexible than the straight quality improvement dollars. But if you'd like, you can actually toggle to coaching and look at that as well. But for right now, we're just going to look at quality improvement. And then on here, these are all of the application questions and answers. And some of this is self-report. So you will notice it's self-report and optional. And so this is a little bit different, at least for Denver, because on the Colorado Shines application itself, for example, under the high needs section, all of those fields are actually optional to complete. So we have some incomplete information from that section, which is why we felt it was so important to get the high needs score. The Office of Early Childhood, which can be considered an authoritative sort of metrics that allows you to kind of rank your sites based on that criteria. But in thinking about future applications, what Denver used to do previously through EC Connect is we required 100% of the fields on the application, and that way you know that you have all the information that you need. And we've also recommended that to the Colorado Shines team, that more of the fields on the application are required if certain dependencies are met. So for example, if they say, yes, I'm an accredited site, then it's then required to put in the accrediting body and the expiration date and those kinds of things. As of this time, those are optional. So it's a little tricky to make sure we've got all the information. Okay, so if we scroll on over, there's just a lot of information in here. You've got the level, accreditation. What I tried to do in the report is add to the title if it's self-report or if it's QRIS. And like the high needs score, this is an OEC calculation, so it's very authoritative, and things like that, so that it's a little easier to tell what you're looking at. And then the requisition status is here, and you can also see the assigned funds and what the requisition name is. So, you can actually come over here and export the information by clicking on the More Actions and Export. And we'll save this as a third QIP export. And then by doing that, I can actually see, for Denver, our total school readiness liability, if we were to accept everyone, is $176,250. And so I'd be, looking at that, I know that it far exceeds our approved budget. So, I know that my program manager is going to come in here and waitlist quite a few of these sites because our approved budget is much, much lower than that for QI. But we've been told that it's possible that OEC may have additional funds to support additional sites if we can show the need. And also as a nonprofit, we can also go to private funders and say, look, we've got this really great program, the school readiness program. Would you be willing to match so that we can have all of our sites participate? So it's just another strategy to make sure that we are trying to leverage those funds in as many ways as we possibly can. And then you can also sort by the rubric criteria. So if we go back over to the quick guide, step 3 is to score the applications using the program rubric. So all of the rubric links are listed here, and they're on Trello and the support site. And so I'm going to click on one of them for school readiness. So I can see here are all the points that are possible. I also see my big disclaimer down at the bottom, which really allows a lot of discretion for the council to determine who should participate in which QI funding stream. So we know that some councils, they don't want one program to be in more than one or two QI programs. Some councils do want, one site that is really in need to be in all 4 QI programs. It really just depends on how your council does it. So this gives you a lot of authority to kind of determine who should be participating in the program based on past history and other things like that. But a lot of the selection criteria is pretty objective in terms of high needs and CCAP served or willingness to increase infant and toddler services, things like that. So you can come back over to your spreadsheet and you can sort by whatever things you think are most important, like mean CCAP enrollment. So maybe what I would do is I would do a custom sort, and I want to sort by the high need score. And then largest to smallest, and then I want to add, mean CCAP. Oops. Largest to smallest. And then that kind of actually creates kind of a ranking for me just by doing that. So I know, Catholic Charities, just from a high needs and CCAP accepting perspective, is very high on my list of people who should be accepted into the program most likely. So once you've sorted that, then you can actually send it out if you've got a small group of people, stakeholders who help you select child care sites to participate in QI programs. I think some councils have a whole program committee, and the program committee will review the criteria. Some kind of handle it through their own internal staff, but you usually have a small group of people who are kind of commenting on the different applicants and ranking and kind of determining, who should be selected for the program. So far, are there any questions on that? Okay, great. So, here in this little tip, just like what I just talked about, use the high needs score to prioritize sites. This is calculated by OEC using census tract data plus self-reported data, which is optional on the Colorado Shines profile. That's not a requirement, but it is something that might help your selection process, be a little bit cleaner. So. All right, so then you can actually enter the score, if you'd like to, into the application record itself. So we'll maybe look at, so we look at Catholic Charities. So the way I would do this, I can see this is my application name right here. So maybe I'll just take the first part of this, and I'll come over and I'll go into the applications module. Oops, there it is. And I'm just going to type in that name, and it's going to pop right up for me. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to see this is my actual application. It's just in the submitted status. And I can come over here, and I can type any notes I want to type in here, notes for application. And I can say, yes, the rubric is required, or if it's a renewing site, then I don't need to do a rubric, so I'm going to say NA renewal. So I'd say yes, and maybe I'd type in the score of 9 or whatever it is. So you'd look over at your rubric. Looks like you can type in whatever score makes sense for that perspective. Okay. All right. So then after you enter the score, then you can actually re-export the data once you've entered all the scores. And basically you can come in here and you can start %score. That will pull up all the scoring reports or you can go to this module guide that we are going to post shortly, and we'll send out an email, and just rerun it, and then you can sort by the score, and you've got your top list of people. And then at that point, you would be able to send the program MOUs or waitlist any sites that you'd like to waitlist. Or if you, in kind of the rare occasion where you actually want to reject somebody, then you can actually reject the applicant. On here, there's a little warning that says if you reject an application, you want to be really sure that's what you want to do, because it will actually delete all the related requisitions, and you will not be able to restore those without contacting support at. So if you do have to restore them, then you can contact support at, but it's basically deleting the record. So you want to just be sure that you're ready to do that. And those statuses are described in a lot of detail in this Working with QI Application Funding Streams and MOUs. So you're welcome to reference that. And then step 6, which would be the last step, is that you send the MOUs to the selected applicants. And you just do that by selecting the status Send MOU, and that will trigger the electronic MOU process to go out, and it will notify you when it's all signed, and the PDF record will be uploaded to the application record. You'll also be copied on an email that has a copy of the PDF as well. So you've got lots of documentation, and as you're doing that, you can go ahead and schedule your initial coaching visit. If it's for Race to the Top, then you want to do your coaching readiness assessment. If it's not Race to the Top, you still need to do a readiness assessment. You would just pay for it out of the specific grant, like CCAP, School Readiness, or ITQA. And then once that's completed, then spending can start. So, so that's kind of the overview. That is the overview of how to kind of go through the application process and score the rubrics. Are there any questions? I know we've gotten a lot of support questions over the past couple weeks, so I just want to make sure if you'd like to have a discussion about it, maybe we can have it on this call. You're even welcome to type in the questions if you don't want to unmute yourself.
And then, Sharon, I actually have a question that came in to me this morning, but I was only 80% sure of the answer, so I thought I'd ask you on the call. So in regards to a graphic called Lead Measure for QI Pilot that was shown, so the question is relating to rating, and if the program needs to submit their L3 through 5 rating application by December 31st and complete rating by March 31st. Is that for programs that were in the old year 1 pilot or the current year, or what is the expectation of the program who are new year 2 CCAP?
Great, thank you for that question. So I think, you know, the first thing to clarify is that it doesn't matter if the site was in the program last year or this year. The expectation is the same. The expectation is that you'll complete the coaching assessment, and the coaching assessment will determine what goal level that site should be held accountable to. So it is completely up to your coach and the director of that site to kind of objectively determine, based on the assessment, whether or not they should only go for a level 2 by the end of the program year, or if they should try to apply for a level 3 through 5. That 12/31 deadline and the March deadline, that is, those deadlines are specific to the CSTAT reporting. So if you want a site to be reportable under the CSTAT reporting, they have to get their level 3 through 5 rating done before March. So if, in order to do that, they would need to necessarily submit their L3 through 5 application by 12/31. And so, of course, you know, that's one of the grant objectives, especially for the CCAP program, is one of the grant objectives is to, you know, work towards those higher quality levels. However, that is not intended to try and force people to submit the application by 1231 if they are not going to be ready. It is much better to set the goal for L2 and know that they're going to meet that goal rather than set an overly aggressive L3 through 5 goal. So that's why there are those new minimum requirements, and even if they meet the minimums, it may be possible that based on that particular site's circumstances, that they still wouldn't be ready for a level 3. Maybe they have a brand new director, or they have some kind of thing that's happening in their organization this year that would prevent them from being able to devote the time and energy to really make sure that they're ready for that level 3. And I think it's the Office of Early Childhood's perspective that we don't want to put people into the rating who really aren't ready. We really want to make sure that they're going to do well on the level 3 before we put them in that position. Of course, there are other external factors, like if they do accept CCAP, their CCAP reimbursement rate might go down if it's on a tiered reimbursement rating level, or there might be other types of subsidized funding that is sort of reliant on those levels. So there's a lot to consider when you're planning that with your sites.
Great, thank you. And then in addition, Tiffany has a question. I know she's jumping off the phone soon. After the MOU is signed, do we need to send a congratulations letter identifying the requisitions? And
that's a great idea.
That would be great. And then on the same note, it would be wonderful, yeah, to touch base with your provider regarding their spending, and then that can open the door of the communication if they have additional questions. But then also keep in mind for those put on the wait list that the councils do need to communicate that themselves to the providers. There's no automatic email to the providers regarding wait lists or rejection.
Right, that's exactly right. So if you do wait list or reject a site, there's nothing that is triggered in Sugar that will send them a notification, because we do not feel that that's the kind of thing that you want to be an automated notification, as opposed to a program MOU, which is exciting and good, But absolutely, I think sending a congratulations letter is one really great way to show them what they have available and kind of have that formal communication piece in place. I think what we usually do in Denver is when we're reaching out, we say congratulations, and then we try and schedule that initial coaching visit. And then in the initial coaching visit, maybe you take the first 15 minutes and kind of review the program MOU and review, what your expectations are through the year. That way, everybody feels very oriented to the particular grant program or multiple grant programs that a site might be participating in. Okay. So there is another question, is there a way to unsend or delete an MOU? And yes, there is. It's cancel MOU is a status. So if we come back over here, once you've already sent an MOU, you can cancel it, cancel MOU. If you have not sent an MOU and you accidentally select cancel MOU, you will get an error. Okay.
And then on that note, I have been asked this morning, and I want to verify if they need to resend an MOU, say the email was wrong, etc. Do they have to cancel the previous MOU first?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So that's just a good clarification. If for any reason there's an error and you need to resend, please remember that you need to cancel the MOU first and then resend in that status
And
area.
the way you would do that is you would select cancel, actually hit save, let it save, and then you would come back over here and say send MOU and hit save, and then that will do that. But the other thing is, too, if it's just a wrong email address and it's still an active email address, that person can always delegate the signature to somebody else. There's a little link on the EchoSign email that says delegate signature, and then they can type in who they want to sign it, and that will all be tracked through the EchoSign system. Okay, let's see. We have a question. So there, or a comment. The question sounds like it applies to previously partially rated programs that now need full program ratings to keep a rating. I'm not sure what that comment means.
Janet, it's Lisa.
Hi.
I don't know who, if it was Nicole or who that might have been that was talking about the submit by December, must rate by March kind of a thing, but that is the kind of deadline we're dealing with partially rated programs.
Right.
In our case, we got a couple that were ITQA that this is the information provided to them to keep, that they need a whole program rating coming up in that deadline. So I wasn't sure the question that was shared, if it might have been related to a partially rated program or not.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I think that definitely is true. So those partially rated sites have their own set of deadlines, and there are some guidance documents out there related to those deadlines. What the question was specifically referring to was for the CCAP QI program for CSTAT reporting purposes. In order for that site to be included in the CSTAT reporting as achieving a level 3, then they would need to rate by March. But that wouldn't necessarily, that shouldn't be what's driving your goal setting with the site. You know, you should be setting the goals based on the assessment, based on your understanding of the site's real ability to be able to get a level 3 or higher, and then targeting that submission deadline for 3 months before you think that they'll, you know, 3 months before the rating necessarily would need to occur. So if you want all your sites in a particular program to rate by June 30th, then you'd want all of them to apply by February or March.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Lisa. Okay.
Okay, and then we have another question. Will that work on our end as well, to designate another signatory from one?
Yes.
Yes.
And we also got a comment that the reports are not available yet, and I am making them available right now. It's just a permissions thing.
Great. Then a question relating back to the conversation with Lisa. If it is a crosswalk site and had a previous Qualistar rating and the site is expiring in 60 to 90 days, I was told that by Qualistar that they had to complete the 10 PDIS training hours. Is that accurate?
Let's see. So
those seem like two separate.
So I think, I don't know if Michelle is on the call today. I think a lot of the OAC staff is out. Or maybe Kelly Bowes might also be able to answer this question. But my understanding is that right now, if a Qualistar rated site who's crosswalked in misses their deadline for re-rating, then they would drop to a level 1 unless they complete the L2 modules. I think this is your question. Let's see. Tina, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question out loud?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I was told, so that's what I was told, is that if they miss the deadline, but let's say they're re-rating in the 60 to 90 day window, that they would need to go back and complete the 10 hours of PDIS training, because some of those sites had not done that when they were crosswalk and met the September 15th or 30th deadline. So they met that deadline, but when they're going to be re-rated or expiring out, I was told they had to go back and do the 10 hours.
And you were told that by Qualistar?
Yeah, so I called the Qualistar support desk about something else, and that's what she told me. So I was trying to understand the expirations in the 90-day and the 60-day window. And so then I said, well, can you just tell me a hit list of things for my level 2 sites that are about to expire, what they need to do, and that was part of it.
Oh, I see. So it's like a Qualistar 2-star rated site?
So they
Not
were,
a
yeah,
3-star?
so they were rated, yeah, so they were rated a 2, crosswalked as a 2 in the Colorado Shines.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I, you know, I would want to double check that. There's a really nice reference document that talks about all the crosswalk sites. So maybe what we'll do, because I don't want to misspeak on the call, especially with so many details. So what we'll do is when we send out the information with the scoring applications quick guide, we will also send out that reference guide on the crosswalk sites and what the requirements are if they're expiring. And that way, you know, it will be very clear.
Excellent. That's
Sharon, I
great.
am here. This is Michelle.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
From
Michelle,
OEC.
you just know. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am here. Okay, so if I'm understanding you correct, Tina, it sounds like if they are they planning on re-rating before their QualStar rating expires?
No, so they're not looking to get a level. So they're currently a level 2, but they're not looking to get a level 3. They're just re-rating in before they expire. So they'll have to reapply, right, or resubmit their application for that level 2. And they met the crosswalk deadlines, but because they were crosswalk, they were not required at that time to complete the 10 PDIF training hours.
Right. So if they just want to stay at their level 2, then they will
Yeah.
need to complete those 10 hours of training, have 75% of their staff complete 10 hours of training, and then submit their level 2 application once their rating expires.
Yeah, to keep it. So that is correct. That is correct information.
That is correct. If they're staying at a level 2. Now, if they're going to try and rate to and before their QualStar rating expires, then and they want to try for level 3 through 5, then they would not have to do that.
Okay. That
And
makes
Michelle,
sense.
can you provide one other piece of clarification? So if I crosswalked in at a level 3 because I'm a QualStar rated 3 site, and my QualStar rating expires before I would re-rate for the Colorado Shines level 3 through 5, would I drop to a level 1 or to a level 2?
I believe you would drop to a level 1 and
right.
would have to start all over again. So you
I think
really
that's
want to
what
make sure.
I understand. Yeah.
You really want to make sure that you are stressing to your previously QualStar rated sites that they need to apply 90 days prior to their rating month expiration. So technically, it would be 120 days from when their rating is going to expire.
Okay. How about
Hopefully that's making sense.
Right. That makes sense. And then if they're a level 2 that was rated in the Colorado Shines as a level 2, we're assuming that they completed those 10 hours because they were required to. Yeah.
And
yes.
Michelle, would you mind sending out the most updated version of the crosswalk document with requirements? I just want to be sure. I know there have been lots of versions of that. Even if you want to send it to me, I'm happy to send it out.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Great, and I'll make sure everything we have posted online is that version.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you
so much. Yep. Okay. Let me mute myself so I don't echo. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Well, those are some really helpful questions. Are there any other questions relating to applications or scoring or requisitions, anything like that?
Sharon, this is Lisa, and I have one question I am wondering about.
Yeah.
When I'm going through and doing my scoring and rubrics, there is the potential that I will say no to a program that applied for lots of funding streams, and let's just say they even just applied for 2. They applied for Race to the Top and one of the others, and doing that made the requisition for Race to the Top drop to a lesser amount. But if I say no to the other funding stream, can their Race to the Top be readjusted as though that was the only funding stream?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Yes. Definitely.
We can?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To using that rubric, that
Yep.
chart, we can adjust it back to where it should.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, and so to translate what she just said to everyone on the call, so what EasyConnect did through the funding allocation formulas is that if you were eligible and applied for more than one QI funding stream, then some of the funds were adjusted downward because we knew that they would have access to more than one type of QI funding. And that was something that was specifically requested by the little working group we had of councils who were looking at that information and OAC. So that is how that works. So absolutely, I think in most cases there would be no problem with increasing a QI allocation amount. Where there might be a moment of pause is if you're trying to decrease the minimum amount. Then if you're decreasing the minimum, you want to be really expressive of exactly what your justification is for decreasing the amount. And if it's anything that you feel uncertain about, you should talk to your program officer at OAC to make sure that makes sense. But to increase a certain child care site's allocation amount shouldn't be a problem unless it's really high dollars. And then if it's really high dollars, you would want to have a need that's identified, like for example, oh, this infant toddler site needs a new egress window so that they can open a whole new infant toddler classroom or something like that. That's an expensive purchase, and so it would necessarily require additional dollars if you have it available.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Great question. Okay. All right, so just wanted to show everyone a demo of EC Connect. And so some of you have seen this who participated in the pilot last year, but there have been quite a few really positive changes to the EC Connect portal. And so we wanted to kind of demo that really quickly on this call, and know that the training materials are coming. I actually have the QI spending EC Connect guide here, so we can reference this a little bit as we kind of go through the demo. But what we want to do is make sure that we're testing a lot of the pieces. We've been able to kind of create restrictions on requisitions. So for example, in the infant toddler grant, we do allow for capital improvements. But in the school readiness grant, we don't allow for capital improvements as part of the grant requirements. So we're making EC Connect smart enough so that it won't allow a child care site to request capital improvements using a school readiness requisition. So I'll show you what that looks like. But because there are several layers, we want to do a lot of testing to make sure that we're not prohibiting someone from doing something that should be allowed or allowing someone to do something that shouldn't be allowed. So hopefully that makes sense. But basically there's this, there's a website called ecconnect.echocolorado.org, and I'm going to pull up the spending guide here. And the first thing that you can do is you can invite your child care providers to register in EC Connect portal. So nobody is going to automatically have a registration in the EC Connect portal. So while you might have approved and assigned requisitions, your child care sites don't know about EC Connect in most cases, and so they don't have access to those funds yet anyways. So probably from an order of operations, you want to make sure that your QI navigator has a login and is comfortable with the EC Connect portal before you would then invite your child care sites. And I'll show you why that would be important in just a moment. So if we pop back over, the other thing is that you can actually request or you can actually set up a little iframe on your own council website that allows you to, there it is. You can embed, this is very small, so let me zoom in a little bit. You can embed a little login screen into your council website that will allow your child care sites to log in directly from your website. So for them, it will feel like your website, even though it's not actually your website. So I need to get the code from my programmer, which is this little comment, but you will be able to do that very easily as long as you've got, you know, a website that allows you to kind of insert an iframe HTML code, which most you'll be able to do that very easily. For example, WordPress is very, very easy to add this information in. All right, so this module guide also gives you a lot of help on sort of how to reset passwords if you need to, or kind of troubleshoot some basic things in EC Connect. So with that, oh, and I guess I know some people have had trouble with the actual Sugar system in resetting passwords. This forgot your password does work, so there shouldn't be any problems with that. So you can either log in if you've already got a login, or you can have someone create an account. And if you're a childcare site, then there's going to be a full list of childcare sites that they can pick from. So if I know I'm Auraria Early Learning Center, I can just select that site, and I can see who my primary contact is. I can request to become the primary contact, which means that I would be authorized to submit quality improvement spending requests, for example. And I can also select my role. We are trying to make sure that our role list matches the PDIS role list, so we will be, you know, verifying that as well. And so you can set yourself up here, or you can just log in here. The other thing is, you know, this is imperfect, but we do have a Google Translator on the EC Connect site, so if you have someone who is more comfortable reading in a language other than English, they do have an option to translate. You know, however, you get a lot of mixed reviews about Google Translator. It often doesn't translate for context, so just be aware of that for your site. So let's hit login. So when I log in, you know, most of you will not have this little thing. This is, you know, this is Denver's version because I'm logged in as a Denver administrator. But if you log in as Larimer County, then you will not see this BPP renewal button. But it also kind of gives you a glimpse, you know, if we ever get past all of the implementing the CDHS QI programs, we can also set up, you know, customized QI applications for private funders that you work with. And so you can have that come right through the EC Connect portal if you'd like to. Now that is probably quite some time out since we are working on this major implementation. The other thing you'll see is that your site will say, you know, who your QI navigator is. So when I log in as an individual, I have a primary account. And I know who my primary account is because if I go over here and search for myself, of course, I probably have a lot of people here. Okay, so, oh good, I don't. So if I come over here, then first, you know, my primary account right now is Starpoint Spin on the north side. And I also have my portal information in here as well. So if you don't have a primary account defined, then you would still be able to see any site that you're related to. So for example, if I'm a QI navigator on 30 sites, then I will be able to see all 30 of my sites when I log into EC Connect. Let me come over here. So, but this is going to pull from my primary site. So this is saying that my QI navigator is Nicole Real, and it has a nice little letter that says, you know, as a QI navigator, this is what I'm doing, and my email address for my QI navigator is here. Now, all this information down here, this is pulling straight from your council account record. So, like, if I log in as a Larimer County site, it's going to say Early Childhood Council of Larimer County. It's going to have Larimer's address, Larimer's phone number, and, you know, Larimer's QI navigators would be listed. So that's sort of how that works. The trainings tab, you know, we will be training everyone on how to use the trainings modules in Sugar. So this is kind of what it looks like for Denver. You know, you can see all the different trainings that we're offering at any given time. You can also search by like licensing. So if I want to look at only child growth and development, then I can just look at child growth and development trainings. Or if I want to look at only certain funding sources, I can do that. Or if I want to look, I really love Jill, so I'm going to look for only her trainings. So you can sort by a lot of different things. And then also, if I'm in Denver, but I know I also want to look at Arapahoe County because it's close by, then I could look at that too. So this is going to continue to be developed so that it's a little bit more helpful. And if your council doesn't want your trainings listed on here, then you just need to give us some custom text on here that says, for Dolores County, click here to see upcoming trainings. So if you've already got a training system that you like using, then you can do it that way. But more information will be coming out on that soon. Okay, so for the main thing is quality improvement. So there's a QIP dashboard. And what this is going to do is it kind of gives you step-by-step of what you do. So the first step is select the child care site. So I'm going to just select, how about Auraria? So Auraria Early Learning Center, it's going to pull up my QIP goals. This is actually from the Color to Shine's QIP goals section. So I can kind of see all my goals. I would also be able to see if my coach has left me any recommendations from recent coaching visits. So this is going to pull from the coaching log under Provider Next Steps. There's a little note in that Provider Next Steps field that says that it pulls into EC Connect. And that's really helpful. So like if, a coach is saying, oh, we were working on our goal related to workforce and professional development. And so in order to meet that goal, you need to register for XYZ training by X date. The coach could put that in their coaching recommendations, and it's all just right here for that site to see. So then over here, I can actually see all of my QI available resources. In this case, this program only has their Race to the Top QI that's been approved so far. But, if we go to, I think this one has some more. So Carol Krieger, she's got a school readiness one. And so I can see all these sites because I am a QI navigator, or I have some kind of role with all of these different sites. And so as a QI navigator, I would be able to see all of my assigned sites right here so that I could see what they can see through the QIP dashboard. And then also, like if I'm a site, like let's say I'm an administrative site and I have 5 locations of child care sites, and I have authorization to view and submit requests for all of those because I'm the primary contact for all 5, then I would see, as a provider site, I would see all 5 of those. But as a provider, I'm not going to see anybody else's sites. I'm only going to see the ones that I'm assigned to as the primary contact or the director. And then as a coach, a lead coach, or a QI navigator, I can see all of my assigned sites. So I'm saying a lot of words here. I want to make sure people understand what I'm saying. So if I go over into the account record, so here's what I'm talking about. This primary contact / portal admin, this is going to be the main person who we would expect to be submitting quality improvement spending requests. The director also has authority to submit spending requests. And then the QI navigator and the lead coach would also have authority to log in on behalf of that site. So if I'm Tony, I'm the lead coach of Catholic Charities, and I'm in a coaching visit with Catholic Charities, and we're talking about a specific purchase that would improve the learning environment, for Catholic Charities, we could actually log in to EC Connect as Tony. Tony could actually select Catholic Charities and select the QI resource that she'd like to submit against, and go ahead and put in the order with the person on site. Sometimes that might be a better approach than trying to bring it back to the office and have the QI navigator do it, or have the site do it themselves. So you can kind of use that. It's not saying that you have to have your coach do that, or that it has to be the QI navigator, it has to be the site. It really allows for a lot of flexibility on who's submitting spending requests. Are there any questions so far? Let's see.
There was one. Does EC Connect verify that the person who creates a login for the site is actually the person who should be accessing the requisitions for that site?
So it does not automatically approve anyone as a primary contact. So you would get a notification as the QI navigator of the account that, you know, Jane Smith is requesting to become the primary contact for that account. And then you might either call and follow up if you weren't sure who that person was, or you might, you know, verify that the email address is the email address from the site. Or, you know, a lot of times I think what happens is the QI navigator hears from someone, like a current primary contact is leaving the organization, and they would email the QI navigator and say, oh, you know, so-and-so is taking my place, or something like that. So you usually have context on who should be the primary contact or who should be the director, you know, just by knowing the site. Okay. So there's a question. So when it says I am not associated with any organization, does it mean my ED needs to assign me to programs as a QI navigator in Sugar? No, there isn't any rule on who assigns you as a QI navigator, but I know that a lot of councils have a lot of sites that don't have a QI navigator assigned yet. So organizationally, you need to determine who should be setting the QI navigator. It might be the QI navigator themselves that's going in and updating the account records with the, you know, tying it to themselves. Or it might be like a program manager who goes in and updates all those records, but you really do need to have a QI navigator assigned. The lead coach is super optional, but it's very helpful. It gives that coach a little bit more access to things and allows them to kind of organize their workflow related to their assigned coaching hours and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I understand that. So I am actually the QI navigator for our council. But when I went in, because I selected the link for EC Connect and created a login earlier today, it's saying that I'm not associated with an organization. So it allowed me to create a login, but then there's a pop-up that says I'm not associated with any organization.
So you created a login into EC Connect just now?
Earlier today, because I was looking at a previous email that had the link. It was the email that had a bunch of information. And so I received the link was in the email that you guys sent out last week with it include requisitions and MOUs.
So Tina, you created a duplicate of yourself when you did that. So
what was that?
You created a duplicate contact record. See how I'm looking? I can see 2 Tina Purcell.
Yep. Okay.
So that's why you don't have access to anything, because it thinks that you are a different person than who you are. So what you would want to do, that's why we will be sending out the spending module guide that has information on how to set up your EC Connect login if you don't already have one as a QI navigator. You can, if you haven't already done that, please hold off and I'll send out the information very, very soon. But otherwise you'll end up kind of creating a little bit more work for yourself. So Tina, let's fix your login real quick. So if we look at Tina Purcell, I'm going to open one of you in a new link, and then I'm going to open the other one.
Yeah, for some reason my internet or my network is slow, and I can't see anything that you're seeing, even though I have the GoTo open. So I'm just talking. I can hear your voice because I called in on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So now I can see the screen. No, I can see the screen. I can see it now. It just pulled it up.
Perfect. So it looks like this one is the one that you just created with the username of Tina at brightfuturesforchildren.org.
Yes.
And I can tell, but if I go to view changelog, I'm going to see it was just created on 8th at 8:46 a.m. So I'm going to close this. So this is the brand new one, and this one should not have see how it doesn't have the Salesforce ID. So I know that one is wrong, right? Because the Salesforce ID is important. So if I come back over here, I can see I've got the Salesforce ID on this one, but I don't have a portal username. So it's kind of, you know, you kind of have to get both of those things together. So if I come over here, also I'm noticing probably your primary account should not be Delta Head Start. It's probably
Nope.
council. Which council are you with?
The Bright Futures?
Bright Futures. Thank you.
So, tell you right, yeah.
Bright Futures. So we're going to say Bright Futures, and we're going to go ahead and this is just saying, do I want to pull in all the address information? I want to say yes. And then when I go ahead and put in your email, it's tina@brightfutures, right?
Yes. For children at brightfutures.org. Yeah, brightfuturesforchildren.org. Yeah.
Oh, Bright Futures for Children?
Yeah, .org.
Okay, hold on. brightfuturesforchildren.org.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then I'm going to hit save. And when I do that, because I added an email address, actually it's going to have a duplicate email address. Let me get rid of this real quick. It actually has some protections against duplicate email addresses. So it didn't update this portal username because so it will give you a message that says, you know, tina@brightfuturesforchildren.org is already a portal admin, a portal username, and so it won't update the portal. So this is actually a really good point, which is there are some child care sites who have one generic email address that all the teachers use, and that will not work in this setting. So each person who needs an EC Connect login needs to have a unique email address, just like PDIS, just like Colorado Shines. So I think people are starting to get used to that now, but I know we've run into that as an issue in Denver quite often, where there's some generic email address and more than one person is trying to use it, and it just, you know, it won't allow for that to happen.
So my Tina address is only for me, though.
Yes,
it's not generic. Yeah.
Right, but
okay,
we have a duplicate record over here. So I'm just going to actually delete this one because it doesn't have any good information on it. We could also merge it, but that takes a little bit more time. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and make my portal active. And it will, if I had done this in the right order, then it would have updated your email address for you, Bright Futures for Children.
.org. Yep.
And then I'm going to set your portal password to password123.
Okay.
And hit save. And then it's going to protect that password, so you can never know what people's passwords are unless you set it yourself. So as one troubleshooting thing, if someone is having a problem with the password, then you can actually define the password and then send it to them, and then ask them to reset their password when they log in. Or you can click this force reset password button, which will allow you to, it will send an automated password to the site for you. So it's a nice way of doing it. Now, all of this, you don't need to be taking too many notes because all of this is in the module guide, so you don't have to worry about memorizing this, you know, right now. So now you should be set up correctly. Let's see. And the other thing that's really important is that the way that the QI Navigator administrative function works is that your Tina Purcell user is tied to your Tina Purcell contact. So if you are a QI Navigator and you're not seeing your sites, go to your contact record, make sure you don't have a duplicate record, and then make sure that you are tied to your Sugar user self, and that will give you the authority to submit spending records on behalf of your site.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Wait.
So now what we can do is we can actually log in as you. I'm already logged in. Log out. And then we can see what it looks like in a different council, so that will be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's at brightfuturesforchildren.org and it's password123. Okay, so it's going to load your logo, Bright Futures. It's not going to load DPP over here. And then it's saying that your QI Navigator is Tina Purcell because you're associated with the Early Childhood Council record, and on your Early Childhood Council account record, you're the QI Navigator listed. So that's not what it would look like to your site. If one of your sites log in, then they'll you as the QI navigator as long as you're listed as the QI navigator. Okay, so we can actually do the demo from your site if you'd like. So, so if we go to the QIP dashboard here, so here now you can see all the sites that are associated with your user record. Does this look about right? Does that look right, Tina? Yeah?
Yeah, my audio is...
Is there a site that you know has an approved requisition, like you've actually processed the program MOU for?
Yeah, wait.
Who would you like to use?
Yeah. So wait. Let's see if I can unmute it.
You are unmuted. Yes, we can hear you. So would you like to use any of these? We can just pick some. Oh, no QIP. But what's kind of neat is you can like jump around from site to site. Let's see. Bright Beginnings. Okay, here we go. So Bright Beginnings has some QIPs, so you can see those. Tina, do you have anyone who has an approved requisition?
There should be Mountain Munchkins.
Okay, so I can actually just type, so like some of you will have quite a few people in your list, so you can just type whoever you're looking for. So if you're looking for Karen Field, Munchkin.
Wait, this is no requisitions. Okay, so.
It would have to be approved, so they'd need a signed MOU to have approved requisitions.
Right, so that should have been one of them, so.
Okay, let's go look.
Signed MOU, yeah. Let me see. So you're going into Sugar and then.
Yep, I'm going to go to the account. We're going to scroll down to the provider requisitions.
Okay.
I'm going to look at this one.
It says out for sign.
So I'm going to jump to the application, which is right here. And it's MOU out for signing. So someone hasn't, DCAT at Mountain Village hasn't signed yet, so it's not approved yet. Does that make sense?
It's not approved. I'm just, so there are, there should be some that come that have the accepted. I'm just trying to think who they are until you pull it up right now. There are some that have been accepted and came back. I'm just trying to remember who. I was working on that this morning.
Right, huge is, what's your team? Is BF? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's look. So here's one that's accepted.
So there's some. Yeah, there's.
So let's do
so they accepted.
Here.
Submitted. So accepted should be the ones out that the requisitions are sent back, right? So that's my NanoReader.
So here now I can see that the School Readiness Quality Improvement Program, they have $2,500 here.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. So then, you can see their QIPs. You can review recommendations from their coaching. So it looks like they haven't had any coaching done yet, so that means they haven't had the coaching assessment yet. So then we want to make sure that the assessment happens before any spending happens on here.
Okay.
So from here, you can actually use this button to request to use your quality improvement funds. Or you can navigate up here to new spending. I think we're going to rename that menu item to just request quality QI funds or something like that. But here we're going to click this button. And then this is the new quality improvement request form. So what's really nice is if you come from the QIP dashboard, which is where we would recommend you have sites go from, then it's going to automatically pre-select the child care site. And it's going to pre-select, if you've only got one requisition, then it will pre-select it for you. So this NP5 is the site abbreviation, then SR16 is the funding stream, quality improvement is the type of requisition, and then dash 2500 is their actual remaining balance. So if this site had put in a request for $420, then this balance would be $2,080. So they will know exactly what their available balance is based on any spending record in any status other than canceled. And that's really important because if maybe a site goes in and submits 3 requests within a couple of days and they're not approved yet, but you don't want them to overdraw on their quality improvement requests. So it will show them what their available balance is at any moment in time. So that has been very helpful. So from here, the site can actually see, step one is you're selecting the child care site and the available QI funds that you'd like to use. And then you're going to select who you're requesting to pay. So it might be a reimbursement to the child care site, in which case they need to make sure that they are looking at the reimbursement checklist. It might be a direct to an approved vendor, and we've got a list of approved vendors. What we're doing is we are, I believe we're pretty close to finalizing a group discount with all of the major learning material vendors. So Lakeshore, Kaplan discount, there's some of the Montessori vendors as well that we have negotiated an even better discount than we've ever been able to get before for all councils. So we will be sending out additional information on what those discounts are and all of that. And we're actually going to be updating your council account record to reflect the account numbers for each of those preferred vendors. So that when you go to order something from a preferred vendor, then it already knows the account number it should be associated with and all of that for you when you're doing your purchase order request. So there's still some logistical pieces that are pending right now, and so that's one of the reasons we delayed sending out the spending training materials, because we want to make sure that all of that is wrapped up before we send that out. So let me know if there are any questions on that. Or you can also request to use a vendor that's not listed. And if you do that, then you just need to indicate the name and the address of the vendor you'd like to order from. And so, so that, from a council perspective, if you've got a vendor that you've never worked with before, then you want to really do your due diligence and make sure that the vendor is legitimate and, that everything checks out with that particular payee. The other thing that we did is we added a list for a description of the quality improvement purchases that you may use your QI funds for. So if you click on this link, this is actually a full listing of all qualified quality improvement purchase request types as approved by the Office of Early Childhood with a description of what those are. That's not saying that this is this is exclusive. There may still be other types of QI purchases that would be allowable, but if it's not on this list, I would suggest that you would want to double check with CDHS to make sure what you're trying to spend the dollars on is really allowable under the particular grant. Okay, so then if we come over here, you can also select the Colorado Shines QIP goal category. So let's say I'm working on learning environment. So that's going to reduce the number of QIPs to just those of learning environment. The reason why we're doing that is because for reporting purposes, we need each spending record to be associated with only one requisition, so one funding stream, and also only one Colorado Shines QIP goal category. And that allows us to really have very clean reporting. And so if somebody is trying to purchase something that could actually affect more than one QIP goal category, they should select the primary that's benefiting. Or if it's really distinct enough and it's two different purchases, then they should just create two different requests based on which is the primary Colorado Shines QIP goal category. So, let's say I'm going to select Lakeshore Learning Materials. This is just a note saying that if the vendor is not listed above, then you can click this button and it will pop the status to request to use a different vendor. And then you can also share any special comments like, oh my gosh, I'm rating in 4 days, can you expedite shipping on this item or something like that. The site can put that in, or the QI Navigator can put that in. And then down here, these are all the different types of request items, and these are all associated with a drop-down value in sugar. So, this is just an alphabetical order, but if it's a capital improvement, I can click on here, and it's going to actually tell me, like, hey, Lakeshore Learning Materials is not approved for capital improvement expenses, and that's set on the vendor record. So, it's unlikely that something purchased from Lakeshore Learning Materials is for a capital improvement expense. So I'm going to say, oops, I didn't mean to click that button. I'm just going to, you know, get rid of this, cancel this item, right? It gives me a little error message. So maybe for, you know, Lakeshore, probably learning materials is what we need to be adding here. So when you select an item, it's going to give you that same definition. This learning materials, this definition is going to be the same definition that's on this cheat sheet, basically. So it's kind of in both places. And then as a site, I can just type in my number and type in what it is, bookshelf, how many I want, at what rate, and if there's shipping. And then I can tie it to my QIP high priority items, or actually this should say QIP goals. And we're actually working on this so that it's more information. We're going to have this pop out to a little pop-up screen that will have all the detail that you had seen in the QIP dashboard previously. And then the scope, if you say specific classroom, then you'll actually be able to select the specific classroom that is benefiting from that item. Now, if you want to add more than one item, you can click to add more than one item. Or if you're like, oops, I didn't mean to add that, you can just exit out and click OK. Now, if you want to add, like maybe somehow you're purchasing learning materials and you're also purchasing technology from Lakeshore. So you can add more than one type of item to the request at once. And then what's really nice is we have a lot of required attachments and documentation for QI requests. And that's actually, this is a slightly updated version of what was shared last year for the CCAP pilot, but allows you to see all the different request types, which grant it's allowable in, and kind of some basic information about each of the grants. And then down at the bottom, we've refined this a little bit. So we've got required documentation to process a payment, and you've got each of the types, you know, what payable to type it can be, and then what all the request information is. Now this is kind of hard to look at. So what's neat is that that's all taken care of through here. So because I selected learning materials, then I have to put in a detailed invoice. And so if I click on this, it will let me attach a detailed invoice. So I think that's a big file. But yeah, so it will say QI detailed invoice, and then this is what I'm attaching. Or if I select scholarships and coursework, it's going to tell me, you know, it's going to give me some warnings here, but you know, like learning environment is not really a QIP category that should be enforced under scholarships and coursework. And Lakeshore Learning Materials is not an approved scholarship or coursework vendor, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So I've got all the information related to the scholarship or the coursework. I can actually select the specific person who's attending, and if they're not there, then I can add a person in right here. So we're actually tracking the person who's a contact record in Sugar, and what the thing is that they're going to. So if it's college, you can put in all that information, and maybe it's for the full program. Maybe it's the director, for example. But then if I scroll down here, then I need to attach a proof of registration or attendance and also a tuition agreement template. So, so it kind of takes the guesswork out on what the required documentation is that needs to be attached in order to. All right, so that was a lot of information. Questions, comments. I think one thing that's important is that this is in beta testing right now. So we are recognizing fully that this form, you know, we're still testing this form. Right now, it is technically live on the EC Connect site. So if you know, in Denver, for example, all of our sites have an EC Connect login. So, you know, they're going to be using this form, and there might be some glitches. And so, luckily, our Denver sites are kind of used to all of our technology antics. But you know, our QI navigators can help them through that. But until you actually specifically invite your site to have a login in EC Connect, and they won't have access to this. So you can wait until you're comfortable in the system to allow them to have access as well. So I just thought that was important to note. You know, we are doing a lot of testing to make it work exactly the way we need it to. All right, so it looks like there are some questions. Oh, good. Lisa says, the site looks great. It was good before, but this is even better. Hooray! Thank you, Lisa. That's always nice to hear. All right, we have another.
Got a lot of work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're so excited. We're actually going to try and add a little video that walks providers through how to submit a request. So just trying to put some bells and whistles on it to make it a little bit more friendly. So.
You did good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, so we had another question, which is, can requisitions be used for re-accreditation? Yes, they can be. I'm not sure what you mean by re-accreditation, but they can be used for accreditation type expenses. So I'm not sure if that would be optional, but there's this ratings, observations, or inspections. I think probably you would want to use that item in order to do that. There it is. And it's, you know, basically you can be creative. If there's something that almost fits in one of these categories, you can still submit it, and then you can change the type to other, you know, inside of Sugar. And or just let us know, like, hey, this is a type of QI spending that we've been doing that is really helpful. It needs to be added as an item. That's pretty easy to do, so just let us know if there's something in there. Like, for example, if you feel like instead of just saying ratings, observations, or inspections, if you want that to be ratings, accreditations, observations, or inspections, we could actually adjust that. Do you think that would be helpful? Let's see, Emily. Yes, please. Okay, great. So yeah, we can adjust that title so that it can be used for that as well. That was definitely the intent of that item, which is can include expenses related to class, ERS, playground, or safety inspections, or other activities that are performed by objective, qualified third-party professionals. These activities must be tied to a classroom, whole program, or administration, and a QIP. So we can update that a little bit to include accreditation as well. All right, well, we're just about out of time. I know we didn't demo anything in Sugar. You do not have access to the spending module in Sugar yet, so you shouldn't feel like you're missing something. The module is actually hidden from you right now because we want to make sure that it's totally what we need it to be before we release it. But again, if you have some orders that you want to be placing and you're willing to test out the system with us, please send us an email and we will get you all set up so that you can see the spending records and we can help you kind of enter those records in. All right, well, are there any other questions? Let's see, I have a question. I tried to follow the steps you all did, but need help with my 2 accounts. I can stay and fix it if you can after. We can probably fix that, but if you want to send an email to support with your specific question, it's really helpful if you include links to the records you're referring to, because that makes it a lot faster for us to troubleshoot. So please send an email and we'll make sure that gets corrected. Okay, perfect. All right, any other questions? I know right now the form is still a little busy looking, so we're trying to work on that, make it a little bit less busy, but still make sure people have all the information that they need. So, great. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And thanks again for listening to all of this new information. And if anything pops up as questions later, please just email us. Or, you know, next Friday, feel free to actually ask the questions And it's really great when we have people ask questions on the call, because a lot of people have the same questions, and that really helps us make sure everybody has the right information. All right, awesome. Well, thanks again. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.